Hey guys, Yuliya here. So today's video is going to take place not in my garden, but on one of the projects that I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. So the whole garden is not finished yet, and I'm going to show it to you at some point, the progress and how everything was made and the planting plan. But that's probably in a month or so, or maybe even next spring. But there is one little sweet area in this garden that we are almost done with, and that is what I wanted to show you today. Now, before I start, I wanted to apologize. If you hear any noise, it is probably coming from the neighbors. They're putting up an addition, and you could probably see the circular saw in the background. But the area I'm going to be working on today is this sweet circular patio that we put in. This is a fire pit area. Now, the stone that you see here was actually in the garden, and I said, why don't we just repurpose it? It's beautiful, it is aged, and it will fit in this garden just perfectly. The diameter of this area is 12 feet, and it fits a couple of chairs and a fire pit perfectly. But what I wanted to do is actually soften it up with moss a little bit. And I asked the workers to leave about 2 inches a gap in between the stones, also called the joint. And I'm going to plant moss there today. Now, moss is so easy to grow in our area because we get rains pretty consistently. We have high humidity. But if you live in the area that is a little bit more dry, you can definitely try different type of vegetation. You could try grass, or go to steppables.com, which is a fun website. They have all these different plants that will grow okay in between gaps of stones like this, or if you walk on them, they will be totally fine. Also, artificial turf is an option. I used to say no to artificial turf, but now it is so well made, it is practically impossible to tell real turf from artificial turf. So those are all of your options. But anyway, the moss that I am going to plant today is actually from my garden because I have it growing everywhere. So I decided to repurpose it just like we're repurposing the stone right here. Now, before I start, I just wanted to say that the tree that you see in the background is actually black cherry, and it is not in the great shape. It's sort of crooked, but I decided to leave it because it's a great native tree that provides a lot of food source for the birds, and I think it just has a lot of character being crooked and all. Also, the house you see over there, that's the neighbors, and the architect is Frank Lloyd Wright, which is a famous architect, and we have a few houses left in our neighborhood that are of his design. But what we're going to do, we're actually going to plant some evergreen screening. So the neighbors have some privacy and my clients have some privacy as well. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and start on this, and I'll show you how to do it. Before I start, I just wanted to go over quickly on how this patio was made. So the workers dug a circle of 12-foot diameter, about 8 inches deep. And if you're doing a seating area like this, 8 inches deep is sufficient. If you're doing something like a driveway or high traffic area, you may have to dig deeper. And it totally depends on where you are in the world and what is your freeze and thaw cycle is like. So definitely look that up. But in this case, we dug about 8 inches deep, and that was filled with QP, or quarry processing. Now, the next step is probably the most important, which is compacting the QP. And you have to do it with a right compactor, which the workers did. And then after this whole area is compacted, you lay the stones. And that is probably the most difficult part because it has to fit like a puzzle. And as you can see, they were chipping the corners and making them fit just right, which is like this amazing result. But anyway, this is the moss that I got from my garden. I just sort of pulled it up from wherever I had it, from the driveway or from the garden, and I laid it in these layers, separating them by newspaper so they don't get too dirty. And The next step is very simple. I'm just going to lay them in the joints. All right, you guys, it's all done, and I think it turned out just beautiful. The moss has softened up the stone, and it looks like it's always been here, which was my intention. The area around the circle we're actually going to plant up with tons of shrubs and perennials, so when you sit here you will feel completely enclosed, like in a magical little room. There are some gaps that I left in between the moss. They will fill it in very quickly, so no worries about that. And actually in the end I think the moss would end up growing in the joints anyway, so we might as well give it a head start. All right, you guys, this is it for today's project. So as for the maintenance of this moss, it really does not require any. It doesn't require any mowing or weeding unless you get it from a source that has some weed seeds in it. So definitely be careful about that. But I watered it a little bit today because we have a very dry week coming, and I told the homeowner to water it every other day until it sort of settles and starts growing. But other than that, it's a very low maintenance solution for softening up your stone patio. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video, and I hope you are safe and gardening, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.